Take a breath. Feel your heart. Settle in. Today is Theoretical Thursday, and as I was walking my dog this morning, all of this stuff started coming to me. So I'm going to share ideas for Theoretical Thursday. As a marriage and family therapist, I work with patterns. I'm actually now a spiritual life coach. I'm a sovereignty coach, but my past was a marriage and family therapist. So I notice patterns and I help people to change them. I have observed and studied the person as a system through psychology models and theories, and through practice, observing myself as a person and observing my clients and their experiences as people, couples, and families. So I've studied and observed the family system through family therapy models and through my own experiences of being in a family and co-creating a family and working with couples and families as a therapist. I have a master's in psychology and a master's in marriage and family therapy. And I was a psychology professor and a marriage and family therapist for over 20 years. And now I've been studying and observing larger spiritual energetic systems like tarot and astrology. And what I've noticed in watching many different YouTube channels that do tarot card readings and astrology readings is that they all coincide. They coincide with what I've observed in myself, what I've observed in my clients, and with each other. They're saying a lot of the same things. And so there's energy patterns that are happening. And these people don't know each other. They don't listen to each other's. Some of them do, but most of them don't know each other and don't listen to each other's shows. They're reading energy patterns. And I feel them in me. So all of that is validation. And so what I want to say about that is, oh, where did I go? Sorry, it went down a little bit. Okay, so that's what I've been observing. I've been noticing patterns of what is working through the collective. I also study Jungian psychology, Carl Jung, who studied the collective unconscious. So I've noticed a consensus among all the different tarot card readers and astrologers. They often validate each other without having seen or even knowing about the others, and they validate and mirror my own personal experience. So I've been observing this over time, specifically over the last 2 to 3 years. We seem to be working through karma of past generations and trying to understand and integrate polarity. And in family constellations, what I learned is that every person has a membership in a system. You cannot forget about anybody or try to push anybody out or not include them in the family, or they come up in another generation. So that's pretty interesting, right? So the idea is that you can't forget about anybody. So the idea is that we all need to be given our rightful place within our family systems, and that's a microcosm of the macrocosm of the world. We all need to feel like we belong. We all need to be accepted and loved. And I know that's hard when you have like a murderer in your family or a narcissist in your family. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but maybe not even in this video. So basically, in order to understand this better, I want to talk to you a little bit about systems theory, which we learn about in marriage and family therapy, and about the field, which I've learned about in family constellations, but also is very similar to the quantum field. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to present that information at the end to kind of validate what I'm saying, but I'm just going to keep going on what I'm trying to explain to you, or to say to you, because this is just my viewpoint, but it is based on a lot of different systems and theories. Okay, and I also was drawn to this book that I read a while back called When Life Changes or We Wish It Would, or You Wish It Would, by Carol Adrian. So whether astrology and tarot are true or not, If enough people are looking at it, attending to it, and giving it energy, it's gonna influence the system and the environment. So I'm not telling you whether tarot is true or astrology is true, but if enough people are investing energy in it, it's going to influence our environment, and it is. You can see that it is. Because we have felt out of control and we're scared, we are looking more to religion, to spirituality, to tarot, to psychics, astrologers, and it's influencing our system. So maybe because so many people are looking into it, it is influencing us more. Anyway, because the outside world is so scary, I already said that, we are starting to turn inward and listen to our own inner wisdom and our bodies. And what is coming up is this collective trauma and this ancestral trauma. And we're finally tuning into it, feeling it, and healing it. These are the patterns that I'm noticing through all of these readings and in myself and in the people that I've observed and my clients. And as we do this, we become more sovereign, more integrated, more whole, and more powerful, and we become creators, co-creators with life and the universe. So understanding these energies and working with them is how we co-create. So now I want to talk to you about those smaller fields, fields that get co-created with everyone you're interacting with. So there's the field of the collective unconscious, which is getting read through tarot and astrology. And then there's the smaller fields that you and I are interacting with every day, the people that we're interacting with every day. Your thoughts are never just your thoughts. They are collective all the time. You're creating them in the environment that you're in. You might think that they're just yours, but whoever you are interacting with, those thoughts become your thoughts too. So if you're not aware of them and you're not conscious of them, and you're not sitting in silence and stillness in meditation every day, or however you meditate, whether it's running or walking or, however you observe that, and you're not regularly looking at them, you're not conscious of them, and you're not conscious of deciding whether you want to keep them, you're going to keep repeating the same cycles over and over again. Okay, so you're gonna have a lot of things and ideas and thoughts that are influencing you and working against you unless you're in a really good system and things are working for you and with you. And you would know that because you'd feel it in your body. So are you feeling peaceful? Are you feeling energetic? And if you're not, and if if you're not, then you're probably taking in a lot of things that you don't really want to be taking in. So I think meditation is a great way to start observing that. However you meditate, because there's so many different ways. You could do yoga. There's so many different ways. It's just observing your thoughts. Okay. So you're going to have a lot of things influencing you and working against you unless you can start becoming aware of these and deciding whether you want to keep these or let them go. And if you've been working on this, you may have integrated your own internal system like I have, and you find that you're attracting people that are more at peace, more high vibe people, more people that work with you rather than against you. Okay. But we're all in process with this. So, and really the feedback we get from our environment is telling us how aligned we are with our highest self or our highest good. Okay. So you're born into a family, and this family has ancestral trauma. Most likely your family has ancestral trauma from past generations, and all of that gets stored in the body and gets communicated through thoughts and emotions and behavior. Where am I? Okay, so you learn very early on about life through your family environment. But a lot of what you're learning is just trauma responses. And so you develop a certain role and certain defense mechanisms in your family that become a part of your personality, and you keep repeating this pattern and you keep interacting in the world in the same way, protecting yourself, and you create the same things over and over again, which you may be noticing. I'm not sure where you are in your journey. Okay. Unless you start looking at it and you say, like, if you're at a particularly painful part and you're like, okay, I don't want to keep repeating this. So then you can look at it and say, just first observe it. I don't want to keep repeating this pattern. What can I do to change it? How am I influencing the environment, and what can I do differently? Because I don't want to keep feeling this way. So that's when you start uncovering all these patterns that have been put on you. And really, it goes back generations. So don't blame yourself. So don't be so hard on yourself. But you can change it, and you can take responsibility for your own life and your behavior and your choices and your thoughts. And you can validate your feelings and your experiences and give yourself love. So you start uncovering the patterns that have been putting on you, and you start feeling them, attending to them, and healing them. And then you can create what you want to create. But you have to be aware of what's in your environment and how it's influencing you. For example, you can get a divorce, and I am using a little bit of my own experience, and you can still have to co-parent with your ex-spouse. And their thoughts are still influencing you a lot of times. And when that happens, if they're rooting for you to fail, and you're feeling that, and you also have those thoughts and fears about failing, those are influencing what you you're co-creating with them, and it's influencing what you create. So you're, so you want to co-create with people that make you feel, in general, make you feel good about yourself. You know, every now and then people that you love and you have good relationships with are going to confront you with things that you don't like about yourself. And if you can see that, feel it, heal it, and keep working and keep relating with those people, that's great. But sometimes what happens is you have healed these parts of yourself, and the other people that you're interacting with haven't. And you start to feel more and more friction around those people because their thoughts are still influencing you. They're still in that field with you, and they don't feel right to you anymore. They don't feel good to you anymore, and you don't want those thoughts influencing your creations. So you'll start to feel a lot of friction with those people, and you may have to consider letting them go, or just not interacting with, keeping your interactions very limited, keeping your boundaries very clear. So for another example with the co-parenting, when I co-parent with my ex-husband, I have to be, he'll say something to me. I give myself time to process it and time to figure out where I want to put my boundaries before I respond to him, because I don't want to co-create with him anymore. I don't want his thoughts influencing my creations. Okay, so when you're so there are people that you feel good with, and you feel this flow, this reciprocity, love is flowing back and forth between you, and those are the people that you want to co-create with in general. So there's always going to be things that come up with people you have relationships with that it's hard to look at, but there are environments where you can look at it and feel safe to look at it and heal it. And it's not coming up the same things are not coming up all the time. Hopefully you understand the difference between that. If not, please ask me. Okay. So just notice when you're with other people, because you're co-creating a field with them, and notice what is coming up for you. What are the feelings? What are the thoughts? And then you can look at it and say, what part of this is mine? What part of me needs to heal from this? And as you heal, you'll notice, that was the friction I was talking about. You no longer resonate with the people that are continuing the same patterns over and over again. And they want you to play a role in their, so they've co-created this story with you, and they want you to keep playing that same role. But once you heal that and you're ready to move on, you want to create something different, you're not going to be able to interact with these people as much. You're going to feel a lot of friction in your body. It's going to feel it just doesn't feel good. It feels very bad. It feels almost schizophrenic. I don't know if that's a feeling, but it just feels really bad. I don't know how else to describe it. Okay. So, okay. Oh, that's all I had really with that. So I just wanted to say, oh, the ABCs, that's where it is. Okay. I created a model called I call the ABCs to really help you to deal with the feelings that are coming up for you. It's really simple. It's just acknowledge whatever's coming up for you, a feeling, a thought, and then validate it if you can. Of course I feel that way. I've always felt like I was I've always felt like I was scapegoated or whatever. So of course I feel like that. And then what do I need to do to care for it? What do I need right now? Sometimes it's just to hold that and just to feel that, to see yourself, to see and feel what that did to you, and just honor yourself. It's different every time. So acknowledge. And I externalize and think about myself as my inner child, so that I'm not overwhelmed by the emotion. So I'll kind of say either verbally out loud or internally quietly to myself, I feel you anxious. And then the validation part is, of course you're feeling anxious. You don't feel safe around that person. They're very judgmental. They seem to be working against you. They want you to fail. You're feeling that they want you to fail. You've observed that. You're not feeling safe. And then what do I need? What do I need to calm that feeling? And it might just be, I just needed to sit with that, hold it, cry maybe, walk it out, talk it out, take a shower, let it go. There's all kinds of things that you could do to care for your emotions, but just tune into your body. It will tell you. So those are the ABCs: acknowledge, validate, care for. And you can also do the same thing for your partner or whoever you're wanting to have a relationship with. It applies to them too. Sorry. Acknowledge what you're seeing, feeling, experiencing in them. I see you sad right now. What's happening for you? And then once they tell you, you can validate that. Oh, of course you're feeling that way. This is the anniversary of whatever. Of course you're feeling sad. Validate them. That means a lot to people. And then ask them how you can care for them. What do you need from me right now? How can I care for you? But you don't want to take care of them, and you don't want to take care of their emotions. They have to do that themselves, but you can care for them. There's a big difference. Okay, so that's the ABCs. I also wanted to say that I am a sovereignty coach, and what I do is I help people become more whole. I help you to, I facilitate your addressing these parts of you that come up and integrating them and caring for them. I help you to integrate all the different parts of yourself so that you can become more whole, more powerful, and more integrated, and more all of your parts are working together with you, and you're working better as a person, as a system, rather than everything working against you or feeling like things are working against you, feeling stuck, feeling sabotaged. How you can get all parts of yourself integrated, in harmony, working in harmony. And also your relationships, how you can do that with your relationships and how they both kind of work together. So I do that as a sovereignty coach, and I help you to co-create. So really I'm just guiding you, not really helping you, I'm more guiding you into that. because I've been there myself, and because of all of my experiences as a marriage and family therapist and person who, you know, who lived a lot of it. Okay, so as a sovereignty coach, I have different days where I do different things. So my Mondays, I do Meditation Monday, and I just kind of illustrated why it's important to meditate, to observe our thoughts and our feelings. Like you observe them, feel them, acknowledge them, and then you can let them go, let them move through you, or decide whether you want to keep that and that be part of your operating system. So meditation is really important for that, and clearing out all those things that you don't want to keep. So I do Meditation Mondays, then I do Tarot Tuesday to uncover those hidden dynamics or unconscious energies that you're working with, so you can see them, and then you can decide what you want to do with them, how you want to work with them. So that's Tarot Tuesdays. And then I do Not So Wacky Wednesdays, where I talk about actually practicing living from your heart and your spirit rather than living from your mind and your ego, because we have it kind of we have it like we've been doing it all wrong. We've been just living through our mind and our brain, and that letting that direct us. If you actually listen to your inner wisdom, your heart, your spirit, and you let that guide you, and use your mind and your heart kind of go together, you let them interact and flow together, but allow your heart to really direct you, the world is going to work a lot better. I also practice A Course in Miracles. That's really what got me. That's what I've been using as my internal guidance system, which really is just uncovering everything that you're not, and letting you know yourself as love and power and energy. And so that's how I uncovered this. And Carl Jung's work also supports that the ego should follow the heart or the spirit. The spirit should lead. But they're both important, and they need to interact with each other, and we need all of that. It's also left brain, right brain stuff, which I talk a lot about too, because I learned a lot about that in psychology as somebody who has studied and taught psychology. Okay. Yeah, so ways to do that, actualizing that, ways to actually let your spirit lead. Those are actually like behavioral ways to let your spirit lead. So that's Not So Wacky Wednesday. And then Theoretical Thursdays are for exploring ideas like this. And Free Yourself Fridays are ways to free yourself, what you need to let go of in order to be more free, and what you need to step into in order to be more free, to feel more free. That's actually how part of my journey is. I wanted to feel more free, and this is just the path that I've been on. And then I do Sacred Saturdays or Sundays, depending on what's going on in my life. And those are about loving yourself and life, devotional practices, and readings. So if you're interested in any of that, I regularly do those videos. And I now have my website up and running. I'm still working on making it look a little bit better. And I'm still working with it, but I have my website up, lisareneeaubin.com. So if you wanted to do any tarot and family constellations with me, or spiritual life coaching, sovereignty coaching, I can work with you with that. And I have another thing that I'm doing, which is called Not Everyone's Cup of Tea Parties, where I do tarot and tea and family constellations as part of like a party. But probably it's not everyone's cup of tea, because not everyone would find that intense, deep transformational work as a party. But maybe if you're a therapist or a healer, you might find that fun. I find it fun. Okay, so that's really all. This video is kind of long. Oh no, I wanted to tell you, so if you already know about family systems theory and field theory, this is just supporting what I've already said, is that we create a field with everyone we interact with. And that field influences our thoughts, our emotions, and the story that we tell ourselves. So that's why we have to be careful about who we're interacting with. And I also wanted to tell you about family systems. And if you already know about family systems and systems theory, and you already know about field theory, then you don't need to listen to any more of this video. But if I just wanted to support some of the things that I was saying with a little bit of science. Okay, so systems theory in marriage and family therapy. This is a summary. Systems theory views individuals not as isolated beings, but as a dynamic part of interconnected relational systems. In couples and family work, it teaches that problems do not live inside one person. They emerge within patterns, roles, rules, and emotional processes that the system has created over time. The family as a system. A family is an interdependent emotional unit. Each person's behavior influences everyone else's, consciously or unconsciously. Change in one part of the system inevitably affects the whole. So this is systems theory, but it's also family systems theory. You cannot affect the system. You cannot not affect the system that you belong to. Circular causality. Unlike linear thinking, he did X, so I felt Y, systems theory sees relationships as reciprocal loops. Partner A withdraws, partner B pursues. Then A withdraws more, B panics and pursues harder. Those are the kind of couples dynamics I would often see. No single person is the problem. The pattern is the problem, or the dynamic is the problem. Homeostasis. Every system seeks stability, even if that stability is dysfunctional. So you could find a scapegoat in the system, and if that works for you, then it usually doesn't work so well for the scapegoat, and usually that doesn't end well, which is partly why I got into family therapy, because I didn't like the idea of a scapegoat. Okay, so families unconsciously protect the familiar. When one person grows, heals, or changes, the system may resist. Symptoms often arise as an attempt to maintain balance. That is why someone's healing can temporarily create tension in the relationship or family. Okay, roles and rules, explicit and implicit. People adapt by taking on roles: caretaker, scapegoat, hero, lost child, peacemaker. Families have rules, spoken and unspoken, about emotions, needs, conflict, intimacy, power, and truth. These roles and rules shape identities and relational patterns. So you can kind of see microcosm, the family, macrocosm, the culture. Boundaries. Systems theory emphasizes the flow of energy and information between people. Healthy boundaries are flexible and responsive. Rigid boundaries are distance and emotional cutoffs. And diffuse boundaries are enmeshment and over-involvement. Boundaries determine how individuals function in relationships. Triangulation. When two people feel tension, they often bring in a third: a child, work, a parent, a substance, spirituality, and even symptoms like anxiety. Triangles reduce anxiety, but block true intimacy and clarity. So that's the scapegoat. Healing involves de-triangulating, supporting the couple in turning toward each other rather than outward. So a lot of times you have to do inner resourcing. Multi-generational patterns. Systems theory recognizes that patterns are inherited across generations. Attachment styles, emotional expression, conflict patterns, trauma responses, hierarchies, roles. Family constellations work helps with that too. The identified patient is often the symptomatic person, the depressed teen, the angry husband, the anxious wife, or they're expressing a dysfunction in the system. That's how we view it as family therapists. Instead of saying that person has depression, we think that that person's carrying something in the system. We think about it as a whole system. And we try to look at all the different roles and how we can distribute things more equally. How everybody can kind of take back what is theirs, own what's theirs and take care of it, and then how you can all care for each other. The system chooses a spokesperson for the unresolved tension. That's still the IP, the identified patient. Healing means removing blame from the IP, which people are often really wanting to that person to be the problem. So that's also an issue in family therapy. They're very invested in that person having a problem. They don't want to own or be responsible for any part of that. And in fact, it's not really realistic, and probably the whole problem in what's going on in our culture. So we support the system to reorganize as family therapists. Family therapists are the coolest people on earth. Differentiation, a core goal in systems theory, the ability to stay connected while remaining your authentic self. Differentiation looks like holding your truth without collapsing or attacking, staying rooted while the relationship changes, emotional regulation and clear boundaries, remaining open rather than reactive. And that a lot of that is doing our own masculine and feminine integration and work, like healing those parts of ourselves. Systemic healing. Healing happens through shifting patterns, not fixing people, creating new cycles of interaction. So you have to first be aware of what the pattern is. And you can think about it in terms of thoughts, feelings, behaviors, reactions, beliefs. You can get a little bit more grounded, or you can get a little bit more expanded, or just to keep it clear, thoughts, feelings, behaviors. It keeps it really clear in looking at the cycle. Okay, so where was I? Creating new cycles of interaction, strengthening connection, clarity, and boundaries, integrating generational trauma, supporting each person's inner system. Internal family systems is a great model for that. It's just looking at these parts that come up, and they kind of label them either protector parts or wounded child parts. There's other parts involved, but those are the primary ones, protectors and wounded child. And the protectors you need to make friends with and understand what and how they're protecting you and respect them. And then you can go and move into taking care of the wounded parts. But you first need to really work with the protectors. They'll tell you when you're ready and what you need to do to get ready to take care of the wounded parts of yourself. And as you integrate that, you move into your highest self. Your highest self is always there observing, and it just, as you integrate these parts, becomes stronger, and you become stronger as you become more integrated and whole. And that's a lot of the sovereignty coaching that I do. Okay, so you already naturally integrate the psychological and the spiritual. The system, I think they're talking to me here, so I was having a dialogue. The system reflects the soul's deeper patterns, the family system's deeper patterns, the collective unconscious's deeper patterns, and relationship becomes a mirror, not a prison. It's helping you see yourself and to love all parts of yourself. When one partner expands, it invites the other into evolution. And sometimes they resist, and sometimes they say, I don't want that. And if you're consistently getting that response, you may need to move on, as I did. Okay. But you know that really by how you feel in your body consistently. The invisible, understanding the field. Now we're going to talk about the field. The invisible fabric of connection between individuals, families, and the collective. And if you've never seen the video, My Stroke of Insight by Jill Bolte Taylor, she does a TED Talk. She wrote a book. I read the book and watched the TED Talk numerous times. And it talks about left brain, right brain, and her experience having a stroke in her left brain, only being able to utilize her right brain, which is the spiritual part, and how she could see and feel herself connected to everything. I also had a spiritual experience of that. So, okay, so the field between people is called, they call it the dyadic field here when it's between two people. When two humans interact, a shared energetic and emotional field forms. This field includes thoughts and emotions we unconsciously pass back and forth. You can feel when someone is anxious, shut down, open, or loving, even without words. And your nervous system will naturally co-regulate with that person. It's going to naturally try to meet that person and feel what they're feeling. That's what it naturally does. The interesting part is that teenagers actually do the opposite. They try not to feel the same things. That's why they're so disturbing to us and they disturb our system so much. They're supposed to do that. That's part of their development and their differentiation. It doesn't feel good though. That's also kind of the feeling that I felt when I needed to divorce, because I was trying to I had healed these parts and they were like that I didn't want to co-regulate with that person anymore because it didn't feel good. Where they were at didn't feel good to me. So two bodies sync, mirror, and respond to each other. And there's all kinds of hormones that are working to do that. I think oxytocin is one of them. Cortisol is the stress hormone that's working. That's like when you're not feeling that way with somebody, it comes up a lot. Okay, so your internal parts, and this is in terms of internal family systems, your internal parts are meeting the internal parts of the other person. The inner child may be interacting with the inner protector of your partner. Your queen may be meeting his king. There's all kinds of dynamics and different ways of describing it. Your fear may be meeting his retreat. So relational patterns that are existing in the space between you and the other person. And then they become stories which become more solidified and are harder to break out of. Stories and cycles. Okay. The problem is not inside one person. The pattern lives in the field. So it can be also called the relational soul contract. What you came here to learn, undo, or create together shows up in the field long before you're able to put words to it. The field is the energetic climate you and the other person co-create. Okay, so the family field, the systemic field. In family constellations, the field becomes even more expansive. The family field contains generational memories, ancestral trauma. Actually, even in two people, all of that is still there. It's just easier to see in the family system or in family constellations. And also why I do tarot, because it's easier to see it. But it's all existing in you and the way that you interact with other people at every moment. So it's not like this ever goes away. It just comes up as you're ready to heal it and deal with it. Okay, so generational memories, ancestral trauma, unspoken loyalties, emotional roles, excluded or forgotten family members, patterns that repeat until they are seen, unresolved grief, fear, or imbalance, gifts, strengths, and blessings from your ancestors. That's the field in family constellations. It's an energetic field that you can work with, and you can have people represent these people in your family or energies in your family. And you can use paper if you only have one person that you're working with. You can use paper to represent family members. That's what I do, and then I have them stand on the paper and feel the feelings, and it actually works. You can actually do that. This field is alive in every family system and in every person. People often carry emotions or behaviors that aren't theirs because the field is trying to restore order, love, and belonging. And the key principle is the field remembers what the family forgot, and it seeks wholeness through present generations. So you may not be aware of this or conscious of it, but you may be creating it in your own family. The collective field. This is the vast energetic field created by humanity as a whole. It includes collective beliefs and archetypes, which when I do my tarot readings, I do these archetype cards. And I love doing those because it can tell you like the archetypes that we're working with as a culture, which I think is really cool to see. If you can bring it into the physical, then you can work with it better. Okay. Masculine and feminine roles, which we're seeing so much right now, all these polarities. I have so much fun working with the polarities. For me, that's like, I love doing that. Savior rescuer patterns, motherhood myths, success, worth, and money stories, collective trauma, war, oppression, patriarchal wounds, fear patterns, spiritual disconnection. This is all really fascinating to me, and I love working with this. We're in kind of a time of a collective awakening where we're starting to realize all these stories that we've been working with. And as we can see them, we can feel them and heal them and change them. Okay, and you can do it really, like family, that's what Family Constellations does. It's a really cool method, the most transformational method I've ever seen or experienced. Okay. Right now on the planet, the emotional climate is tense. You can feel it tense, hopeful, grieving, and rising. Our spirits are rising. We're realizing that we're more than just human beings, that we actually have more resources than we've acknowledged. The collective field shapes what each soul comes to heal, integrate, and offer. And I've been saying that a lot in my videos. What your life experience is your gift, and how to transform that, and how to understand, integrate it, and transform it so that you can express that in the world. That's your creative expression in the world, and I love doing that too. Okay, so how these three fields interact. A person is always living inside three overlapping fields, at least, probably. The relational field, you and another, where attachment patterns, love, and co-regulation live. The family field, your lineage and the other person's lineage. Where unconscious loyalties and inherited energies move through you. The collective field, humanity's consciousness, where archetypes, cultural norms, and global energy influence you. Your thoughts, emotions, and choices are shaped by all three, but your sovereignty allows you to consciously shift the field around you, and that's the co-creating. Why the field matters? Okay. It explains why my clients would feel emotions that aren't logically theirs. It shows, but some of it's most likely yours unless you've healed it, if it comes from your family. It shows how partners trigger each other even when love is present, even with love present. It clarifies why certain patterns repeat across generations. It gives a framework for healing that goes beyond the individual. It honors the soul lineage and collective forces shaping a person's path, and it normalizes intuitive knowing. Okay. The field is the unseen river of connection between us. It holds our stories, our lineage, our longing, our wounds, and our wisdom. Every relationship lives inside a field. Every family carries a field. All of humanity shares the field. Healing happens when we see the field clearly, honor what it carries, and consciously choose to bring more truth, presence, and love into it. Isn't that beautiful? That's what we're doing. Okay, then I wanted to explore the quantum field, or quantum physics, what they say about the field, and the difference between the type of field I'm talking about and that field. They're very similar, if not the same, just different ways of describing and talking about it. In quantum physics, the quantum field is the foundational fabric of the universe. It refers to a unified field of energy, particles that arise from that field, non-locality, things influencing each other across distance, entanglement, two things affecting each other even when separated, probability, waves that collapse into form when observed. It is entirely neutral, physical, and fundamental. Scientists use this term to describe the invisible energetic matrix that underlies matter. The relational family collective field, psychology and spirituality, Our shared thoughts and emotions, nervous system resonance, unconscious patterns, lineage memory, archetypes, spiritual information, soul level dynamics. That's a lived human experience of interconnectedness. Where they overlap. The two fields overlap through principles like non-locality. You can sense the loved one at a distance. You feel your partner's mood without words. This mirrors quantum entanglement. Information carried through energy. Family constellation speaks of unconscious systemic information. Quantum physics speaks of energy fields containing embedded information. Observer influence. In physics, observation affects reality. In psychology, spirituality, presence, intention, and awareness shift the relational field. Everything is connected. Quantum physics. Everything emerges from one unified field. Spiritual systems theory. We are connected through subtle fields of energy and emotion. Where they differ. The overlap is symbolic and experiential. It's kind of like the microcosm, macrocosm thing, I think. But quantum field is measured with math, neutral, physical, governs particles and waves. It does not contain family trauma or archetypes, but really probably it does. That's just how it actualizes. Relational spiritual field, felt intuitively and emotionally, holds information about relationships, lineage, identity, can shift through healing, awareness, presence, is part psychological, part energetic, part spiritual. The quantum field is the scientific foundation. The relational spiritual field is the human experience of interconnected consciousness. Okay. Think of quantum field as the ocean, one vast unified body of energy, and think of relational family field as the waves, the specific expressions, patterns, movements, and interactions that form out of that ocean. Okay. And then this was connected in my mind, the work of Carol Adrian, When Life Changes or You Wish It Would. Carol describes change not as a random disruption, but as a cycle that most people move through when major shifts come. And these are patterns that she has observed. She's a PhD, probably in psychology. The break, so there's a disruption, a shakeup, a loss, or an ending. The void, a period of uncertainty, emptiness, or loss of direction. And then the return, a time when clarity begins to emerge again, when new possibilities or insight starts. And then the dynamic balance of renewal, establishing a new footing, a new normal that feels richer, more aligned with your purpose and truth. The takeaway pattern is that change is rarely linear. It often involves falling apart, feeling lost, and then renewal. Recognizing which phase you're in can bring perspective, reduce anxiety, and help you to trust the process rather than resist it. Internal clarity and vision serve as guiding North Stars. One of the recurring themes in her book was to navigate change well, you need to have a clear vision of where you want to go, and that you get with your heart or your spirit. It helps anchor you amidst the chaos or upheaval. So visualizing your desired outcome. But like in my marriage, it was, it had undergone such, it was very trauma, it was a trauma bond. So I had lost the ability to dream because so many of my dreams felt like they just got crushed, or just pushed down. And so sometimes finding that again is part of the process, your ability to dream again. It's in there, but you just need to grieve first sometimes. So paying attention to what feels right, what resonates as positive energy, using your intuition and inner guidance. Self-acceptance, honoring your uniqueness, not forcing change, reflecting on your patterns, observing with compassion rather than judgment. This is all from Carol Adrian's book, When Life Changes or You Wish It Would. It's a great book. It's not about doing more, but often being more aligned with your true self. This is so relevant now. I think you would find it really great. When you honor your uniqueness, your path forward becomes more authentic and sustainable. Facing fear and uncertainty, trusting the process rather than needing control. I was talking about Peter Levine's work on trauma. Like when something happens, you feel that tension and that tightness, that fear, and then you breathe into it, acknowledge it, feel it, and then it kind of heals and you can expand again. Also, like when you're giving birth, that's the exact process. You know that contraction's coming, so you know you're not going to be able to breathe there for a minute, but you know that you're going to be able to breathe when that relaxes, and you can breathe, and then it's going to come again in waves. So just knowing that helps you to relax. It's going to be okay. There's a purpose in all of this. You're birthing your spirit right now. Okay, anything else? Openness to synchronicity, intuition, and inner wisdom rather than rigid rational control. We're leading with the heart and the spirit. We're letting the ego and the mind take its rightful place in support of the spirit and the heart. Viewing loss, love, endings, and transitions as catalysts, metamorphic in nature. Rather than seeing endings, this is such a beautiful book for people that are experiencing trauma and loss. Rather than seeing endings, relationship disillusions, job loss, heartbreak, transitions as solely negative, Adrienne frames them as life's doorways of transformation. Instead of resisting grief or loss, she encourages embracing them, leaning into the pain, allowing the inner reorganization, and trusting that something new can arise. Okay, so that's Theoretical Thursday. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to my channel. And if you are interested in any more of my videos, I already went through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday or Sunday. So check those out. And if you would like to work with me and as a sovereignty coach, or just somebody who wants to see more of those hidden dynamics and work with those energies through tarot and family constellation, you can find me at lisareneeaubin.com, and I look forward to working with you.